Hi there. If you've been wondering why I haven't posted a video on the channel for a little while, it's because I've been busy moving house. But hey, check this out. Alexa, turn on backdrop lights. Okay. Took me 4 months to do that. Anyway, I've recently been fiddling with this new technique, which uses something called a reactor to basically make shape layers below respond to the presence of a null object. This can be used to emphasize the path of an icon or a line in a really cool cyberpunk type style, and it's that I want to show you how to create today. So we're going to go over into After Effects and we're going to come over to the GeoLayers panel here. Now we're going to center in on America and we're going to create a new map style. We're going to use this map style down here called Admin Boundaries, and we're just going to click on the little Edit section. And we're going to make sure that we've only got countries and coastline selected, not disputed, because famously all Americans agree where America's borders are and they won't try and do anything to change that. Create, and just Control click Finalize. So now we have this nice stenciled outline of the border. I'm just going to add a quick fill effect to this, and that comes in as a default as red, which is good. I'd make sure with this technique that we start off with it zoomed out to the fullest extent that we intend to animate to. And I wouldn't have any large punch in or pull out zooms with this effect as well. Now I'm just going to drop in a black paper texture onto the background to build this animation on top of. I've got some saved locally which I'm going to use, but there's some good free ones on a website called Pond5, which I'll link to down in the description. Just going to do Control-Alt-F to shrink that down, drop it onto the background, 3D, and whip it to the map comp anchor. Now it's time to start building out the shape layers that are going to be responding to the reactor. So I'm just going to come up here, select the shape tool, and in the top left corner, I'm going to hold shift, and I'm just going to make a small square like that. I'm then also just going to center in the anchor point on this as well. And then finally, I'm just going to quickly add on After Effects native glow effect. Now I'm going to create a new null object, and I'm going to call this reactor. It's important that you get the naming exactly right, because I'm going to come on to an expression later, and if it deviates that could cause issues. Now I'm going to add an effect to this called slider controls, and I'm going to duplicate this 7 times, so for a total of 8. Now is what slider control is it's essentially just a slider that controls absolutely nothing, but basically this gives a value that you can then pick whip other properties to, allowing you to build up a localized control panel. Now we're going to work through and we're going to change the names of all of these slider controls to basically fit with these. Now again, be very careful of the spelling on these, you need to get them all exactly right. Now I've written an expression which we're going to paste onto the properties of position, scale and glow for this shape layer. I've also done an expression for the effect deep glow if anyone else has that paid plugin that they want to use instead. Now full transparency, these expressions are based off of a video I saw by another creator called ECAbrams. I won't go into the full detail of how it works, and I'll link to his original video down in the description if you want to go watch that. But essentially this hitbox parameters here, they basically define a circle within which the distance of the null object from the reactor shape layer will affect how strongly it moderates this effect. So I've got these expressions written down here. Again, this will be in the description, but it's what you need to basically do is just take these, copy and paste them, and then for the reactor shape layer, you need to find that property. You need to go edit expression and just paste it on there. So we'll do that for each of them. And then I'm just going to quickly change the name. I'm going to recall this reactor layer. And then on the reactor layer itself, we're just going to change the Hitbox Outside value to 100 so that we have that reaction hitbox circle. And then we're also just going to change the minimum and the maximum reacted values for each of the properties. So scale reacted, I want to be 100%, and then not reacted, we'll put it 25%. Opacity will go 100 to 0, and then glow again, we'll go 100 to 0. Now you'll see here that our reactor shape layer has actually vanished. But when I grab this null object, watch what happens when I move it closer. Ta-da! And lastly, one funny thing which I spotted was happening was because of After Effects' native glow effect, I was getting this strange kind of black outline. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to come down into the glow effect. Under glow radius, I'm going to edit the expression. And I'm just going to set this to intensity and then divided by 10. Now what that's going to do is that's going to mean that this radius is always exactly 1/10 of what the intensity is. So that gets rid of that problem. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to distribute these reactor shape layers across the composition evenly. You could do them more scattered at random if you want to achieve a different effect. So I'm just going to duplicate this up 20 times. I'm going to move one of them over to the far side of the composition. I'm going to select all of them. I'm going to come over to the Align panel, and I'm just going to distribute the layers horizontally like this. Now that's all I'm going to do to get them to cover the whole map, and you need to be careful exactly with the sequencing of this so you don't muck them up. I'm just going to do Control D to duplicate them all. We're going to drag them to the top. We're going to come in and we're going to click Shift them, holding Shift so that they don't move off to the side, and drag them down like that. Now we're just going to keep repeating this process until we've gone all the way down the map. Now I'm just going to come up to the reactor layer and I'm going to set the not reacted opacity to 100, and yeah, there we go. So now I can actually see everything. Let's take the reactor off screen for a moment. I'm just going to come down to the map comp and I'm going to lock that because I don't need to be interacting with that for the moment. I'm just going to highlight each column and then we're going to do distribute layers vertically. Again, you've got to go column by column, otherwise it mucks them all up. I do have a paid plugin called Align Pro, which is very useful. Basically brings some of this alignment panel functionality from Illustrator over into After Effects. If you want to see me do a tutorial on that, then just let me know. And then let's go and set this opacity value back to 0. So they disappear again. Now something else which I'm going to do is, just for the time being at least, I'm going to select the label group and I'm just going to turn them all off visibility wise because I don't need them at the moment and it slows down the computer a lot, this effect. Now we're going to come back over into the GeoLayers panel and we're going to double click down here on Florida like that to create a coordinates thing. We're going to add that to browser and then we're going to do that over here as well. Add to browser. Now we're going to select both of these and we're going to do connect features and we're going to select plane route so we get this arch here. Then under draw features we're going to do animate feature path 8 seconds and then create that, and now we have this drawing on animation of the line like that. Let's where is it? All the way down the bottom. Let's set it to a similar red as the map itself. Now I did spend quite a lot of time experimenting with this expression, and one issue that I kept running into again and again is any time that I pick whipped the reactor null to the map comp anchor or pinned it to animate along this path, for instance, it would break that reactor effect. Now it's not the most elegant way of dealing with it, but it's what I found worked, was to basically pre-compose the reactor null and the shape layer and the path all together into one pre-composition, and then manually animate the movement of that reactor null inside the pre-comp in order to fit whatever is going on within the main map comp. If anyone smarter than me knows a way around this, then please do let me know down in the comments. So what we're going to do is we're going to come down to the bottom. We're going to select that, turn those off. We're going to select that plane path that we drew. We're going to un-3D it and we're going to set its parent to none, so it's not paired to the map comp anchor. Now we're going to select the plane route, all the reactor layers and the reactor null, and we're going to pre-compose these together. We'll call this reactor layer or reactor pre-comp. Now we're going to turn on collapse transformations. We're going to 3D it and we're going to parent this to the map. Now we're going to go inside this reactor comp. We're going to turn all of these layers 3D. Now let's bring this plane route up to the top. There. We'll hit U so that we can see its keyframe. So you see it animating on here over this 8-second period. Now we're going to take that reactor position and I'm going to basically put this in line with the shape layer there. Hit the stopwatch to create a keyframe. Going to come over to the end. And we're just going to manually line this up. Again, I was finding that when, if you were sort of trying to paste the path data onto this position, it was causing all kinds of funny effects, which is why I'm just doing this manually. So we've got the 2 keyframes lining up there, and then we're just going to get the Convert Vertex tool, and we're just going to bend this shape layer so that it broadly fits. So now you'll see that the null follows along the path. Now let's bog down my computer again and turn all these reactor layers back on. So now you see them appearing there under the reactor null. Now we're going to go back over into the main comp. That's looking good down there. Now one thing I want to do finally is I just want to add on a shape layer. So we're going to draw that on there. And we're basically going to use this United States shape layer in order to mask it out so it only appears within the bounds of the United States. So we'll take the reactor comp and then we'll just pick whip the mat to that. So now you see it only appears within the US. Now as we pan along 8 seconds, we should see this move along there. My computer is a little bogged down, but yeah, you will see the effect that this is having. So now, within the map comp over in the GeoLayers panel, we can create an animation. So I'm not going to do anything fancy here, just something simple. So I'll probably zoom in, angle it. We'll do a keyframe at the beginning. And then come over to 8 seconds at the end, or we fly over to the west coast and do a further rotation there. Another keyframe. I am now going to have to scale up this paper effect so that it covers the whole screen. Let's just do. Now we're just going to hit finalize, which is going to render off this map animation. Now, one final thing, I want to add that same glow effect to the borders of the United States. You can use After Effects native glow effect. I'm going to use deep glow as I prefer the effect that gives. That is quite intense there. So let's take the exposure down to about 0.1 and maybe set the radius to about 300. Yeah, that looks better. And then I'm going to copy that same effect. I'm going to put that onto this reactor layer as well. And there we go. That's the animation. I've thought of a few other ways that you could do this. You could, for instance, have an icon showing a person or an army or something moving from A to B with this effect underneath it or anything like that. It is also worth mentioning that there are a few paid plugins that can achieve a similar effect to this, like React 2 or Cloners and Effectors. I wanted to keep this specific tutorial free, but if you want me to do a paid version of that, then please do just let me know. And lastly, if you've got any questions, then please do just pop them down in the comments. And if you want to talk to me about any map animation projects, then there's a Google form in the description. Thanks.